In the year 1849, the sun burned hot over the dry California hills. The gold rush had brought men from all over the world, chasing dreams and dust. One of them was Jack Carter, a miner with rough hands and quiet eyes. He didn't talk much, but he worked harder than anyone. Jack didn't want riches for fun. He wanted peace. And maybe a cabin in the mountains, far from people and noise, for weeks. Jack had been digging alone in a forgotten canyon. The ground there was strange harder. Darker, colder. He used his pickaxe every day, breaking stone, moving dirt, and hoping for gold. But one morning, his pick hit something different. It didn't sound like rock, it sounded like metal. A loud clang echoed through the canyon walls. Jack wiped the sweat from his brow and looked. Down there was a smooth, black stone with lines glowing faint blue. He had never seen anything like it. He knelt beside it. Touched it was warm. Suddenly, he felt a light shake under his feet. The ground trembled softly like something alive was breathing deep below. Jack stepped back, heart pounding. He listened, but there was no sound, only the wind. Then he heard something very soft, like a whisper through the air. A voice, not in words he knew, but it touched his mind. It said, "Free me." Jack stumbled backward, blinking. "No," he whispered. "I must be tired." But the voice came again. Stronger, clearer. "Please free me." The black stone cracked a little. Glowing brighter now, dust blew around him, even though the wind had stopped. He looked around, no one else was there. Jack had a choice. He could walk away, forget it, go back to digging for gold, or he could go deeper, into the unknown. He chose the unknown. The next few hours, Jack worked like a man possessed. He cleared stone after stone, breaking through layers of strange metal and crystal. Finally, he reached an opening, a small tunnel leading into darkness. He lit a lantern, held it up, and stepped inside. The air was cool and dry, and the walls were smooth. Strange symbols glowed on the stone's soft blue lines like writing from another world. The tunnel led to a large underground chamber, hidden for who knows how long. At the center of the chamber stood a crystal pod. Inside it floated a woman, tall, glowing, with pale golden skin and silver hair that floated like water. She was the most beautiful thing Jack had ever seen. Her eyes were closed, but her hands were gently raised. She looked peaceful, like she had been sleeping for 1,000 years. Jack couldn't move. His breath caught in his throat. The voice returned in, his head gentle, echoing protector. "You found me." The walls of the chamber glowed brighter as if welcoming him. He stepped closer, reaching out, but didn't touch the crystal. He stared at the symbols on the floor. They looked old, but full of meaning, and the air. It didn't feel like earth. It felt sacred. Jack whispered to himself, "What are you?" And the voice answered, "I am Alari, last of the Flameborn." He didn't understand, but he felt her pain. He felt her loneliness like it was his own. Outside, the sky turned red as the sun set over the canyon, but down below, time stood still. Jack knew this place was not just some mine. It was a secret waiting for centuries. A mystery buried deep under dust and time. And now it had found him. Or maybe she had called him. He didn't know what came next, but he knew one thing. His life had just changed forever. Asterisk, the lantern flickered, casting soft yellow light across the chamber walls. Jack stood still, staring at the crystal pod. The woman inside looked too perfect to still, like a dream carved from light. Then a hair-thin line appeared on the surface of the pod. Jack stepped back quickly, heart pounding in his chest. Was he waking her? Was he breaking something sacred? He looked around the chamber again. The blue symbols on the walls were glowing brighter now, almost pulsing. Like a heartbeat, he could feel something in the air and energy. A pressure. It was like the whole room was alive. Watching him, the voice returned in his head. but softer this time. "Jack?" "The sun, it is warm again." He didn't answer, he couldn't. He didn't know how she knew his name. More cracks formed across the crystal. Small lines glowing gold as they spread. Steam hissed from the base of the pod. Jack felt the ground tremble under his boots. Then silence, the cracks stopped, the lights dimmed, and everything froze again. He waited, breathing hard. Then her eyes opened. Two glowing orbs, deep silver, filled with stars. She looked at him. And Jack felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not wonder. It was something deeper. Connection. Laurie blinked slowly, her hand still floating gently in the pod. "Where?" "M1. She asked, not with her mouth, but straight into his mind. Her voice was calm and smooth. Jack swallowed and whispered aloud, "You're in a cave? In California." Eartha Laurie looked around, her head turning slightly. "The Earth." "Yes, the green world." She said softly, "The light has returned. The cold sleep is over." Jack stepped closer. Slowly. "Are you human?" he asked, already knowing the answer. She smiled gently, but it was a sad smile. "No." "I am not like you," he asked. "Then what are you?" She answered, "I was once called a flameborn, the last daughter of Elorian, a star-lost world that no longer sings." Jack couldn't understand all her words, but he felt the sadness in her voice. He looked into her eyes and saw a history older than any book. She had been here a long time. Waiting, alone. Laurie placed one hand on the inside of the crystal. The glow around her pulsed with warmth. "I crashed here. In a time before your people built cities," she said. "I was hidden, sleeping, waiting for the protector. You broke the seal. You answered the call." Jack shook his head, confused. "I'm no protector. I'm just a miner." Laurie smiled again, this time with kindness. "Your hands broke the stone. Your heart heard my voice. That is enough." The crystal began to fade, slowly becoming soft and clear like water. Then it vanished completely. Laurie floated for a second, then stepped lightly onto the chamber floor. Her feet made no sound. Her body shimmered in the dim lantern light. Jack didn't move. He was afraid not of her, but of what he didn't understand. But Laurie didn't attack. Didn't speak with power or threat. She looked at him gently. "You are afraid, but you are brave," she said. "I thank you." Jack of Earth, he finally found the strength to speak. "What do you want?" She looked up at the glowing walls. "To understand why I was awakened now. This world has changed. Something is wrong." Jack asked. "Wrong? What do you mean?" Laurie turned toward the tunnel, her eyes narrowing. "There is another. I feel him. He was not here when I fell. Now he stirs. He is. Not like me." The air turned cold. Jack felt it too, something far away, watching, moving. Elrie stepped closer to him. "Promise me, Jack. If he finds me, you will not let him take me." Jack stared at her. His hands were shaking, but he nodded. "I promise." She reached out and touched his forehead gently. A small light passed between them, warm and bright. He felt stronger. Clearer, something inside him changed. Outside the cave, night had fallen, but inside, Jack had stepped into a new world, a world of ancient beings, lost stars, and rising danger, and it had only just begun. Eli and Saraxa moved through the mountain trails in silence. The wind was sharp and cold, but she didn't seem to feel it. Her long silver dress moved softly behind her as she walked. Eli kept glancing at her, still trying to believe she was real, a living alien queen walking beside him, hidden from the world as they climbed higher. The land became dry and broken. Rocks split from years of heat and frost. This part of the mountain had never been mined before. Eli remembered an old map he saw once. There were rumors of gold buried deep here. But no man had returned to tell the truth. They reached a small cave just before sunset. The light touched the rocks and made them shine golden red. Saraxa stopped at the entrance, her hand pressed against the stone. A soft hum came from inside. "The cave walls? This is it," she said in Eli's mind. The heart of the memory vein. Inside, the cave was warm and bright. Lines of gold twisted through the rock like rivers of fire. But they didn't shine like normal gold. They glowed with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Eli had never seen anything like it. He reached out and touched one of the gold veins. A spark jumped into his fingers, and for a moment, his mind filled with images, flashes of tall alien towers, ships flying over planets, and a bright star exploding in the sky. He pulled his hand back quickly, gasping. "What was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. Saraxa stepped forward and placed both her hands on the gold. Her eyes glowed, and the cave lit up with a stronger light. "These are not just metals," she said. "They are memory threads. Each line holds the knowledge of my people, our science, our pain, our fall." Eli stared at the glowing gold. "You mean this gold is alive?" "Not alive, but aware," Saraxa replied. "It remembers when your kind mine it. They do not know what they break." She turned to him, her face calm but serious. "There's a reason your world has gold," she said. "It came here long ago, scattered by the fall of my ship and others like it." Eli's eyes widened. "So? Earth is full of alien gold?" She nodded. "Yes, but very few places hold the pure memory threads. This cave is one of them." Eli stepped deeper into the chamber. Everywhere he looked, the gold twisted and curved like vines. Some reached the ceiling, others went deep into the floor. He knelt down near a thick branch of gold and ran his hand gently along it. He felt something again, a whisper in his head, a voice not like Saraxa's. Not clear, but calling. "I heard something," he said. Looking up, Saraxa nodded. "The memory speaks to you now. You are bonded to it because you freed me." Suddenly, the cave shook. Dust fell from the ceiling, and a sharp crack echoed in the stone. Saraxa turned sharply, her eyes glowing brighter. "They've found us," she said. "Who?" Eli asked, standing quickly before she could answer. A blast tore through the side of the cave. Rocks flew in all directions, and a red light shone through the hole. A group of shadowy figures entered, their eyes glowing red like hot coals. They weren't human. Their bodies were tall and twisted, with armor that looked like bone and fire. Eli grabbed a pickaxe, the only weapon he had, but Saraxa stepped in front of him, lifting her hand. A wall of light shot up between them and the invaders. They fired strange weapons, beams of fire and energy, but her shield held, shaking under the force. "These are the Seekers," she said, her voice full of warning. "They were built to hunt the memory veins. They destroy what they cannot control." Eli's hands were sweating, his heart racing. "We can't stay here," he said. Saraxa nodded. "The vein must be protected. But we are not ready yet. We must lead them away." She reached toward the gold and pulled a thin rod from it like a sword made of light. She handed it to Eli. "This will protect you." He held it tight, the weapon buzzing with energy. He had never felt so much power in his hands. They ran through a back tunnel, the light from the memory gold lighting their path. Behind them, the Seekers howled, their steps shaking the ground. Eli looked back once and saw one of them touch the vein. The gold turned red for a second. Then, "Black, it's burning," he shouted. "Yes," Saraxa said. "They poison the past, erase it forever." They reached the surface just as night fell. The stars above seemed brighter than ever. Saraxa looked up and whispered, "He is watching." "Who?" Eli asked again. She looked at him, her face pale. "The one who betrayed me." She said, The real war is coming. Asterisk, the sky above the Sierra Nevada was dark and heavy. Clouds rolled across the stars like waves in a storm. Eli stood by the campfire, staring into the flames. Beside him, Saraxa sat with her eyes closed, her skin glowing softly in the night. They had escaped the cave, but the memory of the Seekers still burned in Eli's mind. "Are they still following us?" he asked, his voice low. "Yes," Saraxa answered without opening her eyes. "They move through the earth, drawn by the gold. But now, someone else watches too." Eli frowned. "Someone else." Saraxa nodded slowly. "A human with a heart darker than fire. He desires the gold. But what he truly wants is power." Far away, on a rocky ridge above the valley, a man named Jed Carver looked through a spyglass. He was a tall, rough-faced man with a sharp scar across his cheek. His leather coat was torn, his boots worn from years of chasing men. Gold and blood. But tonight, he wasn't chasing any ordinary prize. He had seen something fall from the sky 3 nights ago, and now he had seen it move, breathe, and fight back. Beside him stood 2 of his hired men, armed with rifles and greed in their eyes. "What do you think it is, boss?" one asked. Jed lowered the spyglass, his eyes narrowing. "I don't care what it is," he said. "All I know is, where there's light like that, there's treasure." He lit a cigar and pointed toward the valley. "Tomorrow, we ride down and take what's ours," he said. "And if the miner or his glowing lady get in the way, we put M in the ground." Back at Eli's small camp, the night grew colder. Saraxa opened her eyes. Standing quickly, "They are coming," she said. "I feel the greed like fire in the wind." Eli picked up his bag and the light sword she had given him. "Then we move again," he said. "I know a ridge they won't reach before us," as they hiked under moonlight. Eli remembered a path used by native scouts long ago. It led to a cave above the cliffs, hard to see, harder to find. They climbed for hours, the wind howling around them. Below, Jed and his men rode fast, guided by torchlight and the trail of strange symbols left by Saraxa's energy. By dawn, Eli and Saraxa reached the upper cave. It was narrow, hidden behind a curtain of vines and rock. Inside, the walls were covered in thin gold lines, older, quieter, but still alive. Saraxa touched the wall and closed her eyes. "This place remembers me," she said. "It is a safe place for now." Eli leaned against the rock, his arm still sore from where he was shot days ago. "You said the man chasing us wants power," he said. "Does he know what he's walking into?" Saraxa turned to him, her face serious. "No," she said. "And that is the danger. He will wake things that should stay buried." Back below, Jed Carver reached the base of the mountain trail. He found Eli's old camp, burned and cold. But in the ashes, he found something strange, pieces of gold, shaped like vines. Still warm to the touch, his eyes gleamed with greed. "This ain't normal gold," he muttered. "This is something big." He turned to his men. "We're close. Search every path, every crack in this damn mountain." But as they spread out, the ground under them began to tremble. A deep sound rose from below, like a heartbeat waking from sleep. Yet's horse reared, and one of his men fell backward. "What the hell was that?" he shouted. Jed stared at the rocks, eyes wide. "We just knocked on the devil's door," he whispered. Inside the upper cave, Saraxa gasped. "The old core is stirring," she said. "The mountain remembers the war." Eli looked outside, seeing dust rising from the trees below. "We don't have much time," he said. "What do we do?" Saraxa stepped forward, placing her hand on the gold vein. "I must call the shard," she said. "The last piece of my ship is buried beneath this range. If I wake it, it may help us fight." Eli's eyes narrowed. "But if you wake it, won't it also call the others?" "Yes," she said. "But now there is no other way." The war has already begun. A beam of light burst from her hand and shot into the gold. The cave walls lit up, shaking, pulsing. Below, Jed and his men watched the mountain glow like fire. From within, Jed grinned, not knowing the danger. Whatever it is, it's mine, he said. But deep under the earth. Something opened. A dark eye blinked, and ancient metal arms moved slowly. The starship shard, asleep for centuries, was now awake. It remembered the war, and it remembered the queen. The mountain was shaking gently as the light from Syrax's hand faded. Eli stood at the mouth of the cave, staring at the golden lines now glowing brighter across the walls. "What did you do?" Key asked, voice tense. "I activated the shard." Syraxa said, her eyes shining. "It has been buried for a long time. But it still answers my call." Eli felt the ground rumble again, stronger this time. Rocks tumbled down the slope. And birds scattered into the sky, far below. Jed Carver looked up from the canyon and narrowed his eyes. "What in God's name?" he muttered. As the mountain flashed with strange blue light, Syraxa led Eli down a narrow path behind the cave. The trail was old and twisted. Hidden by nature, as they moved, the rocks around them started to glow faintly. Not sunlight, but something. Deep Rallian energy waking inside the stone. "Is it close?" Eli asked. "Yes," Syraxa said. "We are near the crash site. It fell before your kind built cities," she added. "It buried itself in the earth to hide." They reached a cliffside that ended in a steep drop. Below, a massive crater lay hidden beneath trees and moss. In the center was a huge black shape, half buried in stone, half exposed. It looked like metal, but it shimmered like glass, and it hummed like a living thing. Eli couldn't believe his eyes. It was the size of a cathedral cracked open down the middle. "Is that a ship?" he asked. Syraxa nodded slowly. "That is the shard of my crown ship, the last piece of my fleet." They climbed down carefully, the ground warm under their feet as they got closer. Eli saw symbols on the surface of the ship, the same glowing patterns he had seen in the golden caves. Syraxa placed her hand on one of the metal panels, and the ship responded. A soft doorway opened, letting out a faint hiss. Inside, the air was dry and cold. The walls were smooth and dark, like obsidian. Golden veins ran through them, lighting up as Syraxa stepped forward. Eli followed closely, gripping the pickaxe she had given him. They passed empty rooms filled with floating machines, strange chairs, blinking lights, and mirrors that showed nothing. "This was my command bridge," Syraxa said. "I sent the last warning from here." Before we fell, Eli stepped onto a glowing platform. Suddenly, the room around him changed. Stars filled the walls, and images moved like dreams, battlefields in space, planets burning. He gasped. But Syraxa pulled him away gently. "Not yet," she said. "Too much memory will break you." Deeper in the ship, they reached the engine core. It was cracked, blackened, and leaking slow pulses of blue light. Syraxa placed her palm on it, her face full of sorrow. "She is broken," she said. "She cannot fly, but maybe she can still protect." Suddenly, a noise echoed behind them. Heavy footsteps, metal scraping, a harsh laugh. "Well now," came Jed Carver's voice. "Ain't this a pretty place?" Eli spun around to see Jed and three armed men standing in the doorway, their eyes wide, their guns ready. "I knew you were hiding something," Jed said. "But I didn't think it was a gold temple from the sky." Syraxa stepped forward, glowing softly. "Leave now," she said, her voice cold and deep. "You walk on sacred ground." Jed smirked. "Lady, I walk where I please." One of his men raised a rifle and fired. The bullet flew, but it stopped midair and fell to the ground. Syraxa raised her hand, and a wave of light swept across the room. The men screamed and dropped their guns, their minds filled with visions. They couldn't understand. Jed fell to his knees, gripping his head. What? What did you do to me? I showed you a piece of truth, Saraxa said. But you are not ready for it. Eli rushed forward and helped Saraxa stand. Her light was fading. Her face pale. I used too much power, she whispered. The shard cannot hold me much longer. Jed crawled away, his men running behind him in fear. They stumbled out of the ship, shouting nonsense, broken by what they saw. Eli looked back at Saraxa. Can you still use the ship? Not for flight, she said, but it holds a shield. A defense from what is coming. She pointed to a control panel. If I merge with the core, I can activate it. Right. Will not return, Eli shook his head. There has to be another way, Saraxa smiled. A sad, gentle smile. There always is. But not always for everyone. The ship pulsed again, a warning light flashing across the walls from outside. A strange hum filled the valley. Something was coming from the sky, and it was coming fast. Eli clenched his fists. If you stay. I stay, Saraxa touched his face softly. Then we will face it together. Asterisk dark clouds swirled above the mountain as strange lights moved across the sky. The sun disappeared behind a thick veil of shadow, and the wind turned cold, sharp. And heavy Eli stood at the entrance of the broken starship, holding the golden sword Saraxa had given him, beside him. Saraxa's glow flickered like a candle in a storm. They're here, she whispered. The sky hunters have found me. Far above, a ship unlike anything Earth had ever seen broke through the clouds. It moved like a silent beast, covered in armor that shimmered black and red. Its wings spread wide, stretching across the sky like burning metal. Below it, the ground shook. As machines began to land tall, thin walkers with glowing limbs. Their feet crushed trees and stone as they moved toward the valley. In the towns below, people stared at the sky in fear. Some ran, others fell to their knees, praying. The army sent scouts, but their radios went silent the moment they crossed the forest line. The world was watching, but no one knew what to do. Inside the mountain, the broken starship started to hum. Saraxa placed her hand on the cracked core, and golden light spread through the walls. This ship cannot fly, she said. But it still has one gift to give: protection. Eli looked outside as the alien machines marched closer. What do they want? He asked. Me, Saraxa replied. And what I carry inside? Eli stared at her. Then let's not make it easy. Saraxa turned to him, her face soft but serious. You are human, she said. You were never meant to carry this war. I don't care, Eli replied. I started this when I touched that gold. And I'll end it with you. Suddenly, a sharp whistle echoed through the canyon. From the trees, men appeared: miners, hunters, townsfolk, armed with old rifles, shovels, and dynamite. Jed Carver stepped forward, his face pale, but his eyes determined. I don't know what that thing is, he said, pointing to the ship. In the sky, but it ain't welcome here. Eli blinked in surprise. You came back. Jed nodded slowly. I saw something in that ship, something that made me understand. This isn't just about gold anymore, is it? Eli shook his head. No, it never was. The ground shook again, and the first alien machine entered the valley. It stood 15 feet tall, its body made of black glass and red fire. Its eyes scanned the land, and its arms opened to reveal spinning blades of energy. It let out a low growl, more like a signal than a roar. From behind it, more machines followed, a dozen in all. Saraxa stepped onto a ledge, lifting both arms toward the sky. The broken starship behind her lit up. Firing golden beams into the air, a dome of light began to form over the valley, thin, flickering but growing stronger. This is a shield, she said, but it won't hold forever. We must buy time. Eli raised his sword. Then we fight. Jed loaded his rifle and shouted, Let's show them what Earthmen are made of. The battle began. The alien machines fired blasts of energy that melted stone. The humans used dynamite and fire to slow them down. Eli fought alongside Saraxa, cutting through one of the machines with a glowing arc of the golden sword. Each strike burned like lightning. Leaving black smoke behind, Saraxa summoned shields of light to protect the others. She called on the memory of the ship, using every last piece of energy it had. But with each blast, her light faded. "She's weakening," Eli shouted to Jed. Jed nodded, tossing a stick of dynamite into a walker's. "Open mouth, we need to finish this now," he said, as the last machine fell. The sky ship above cracked open. A figure floated down from its belly tall. Cloaked in black, with eyes like red suns, Saraxa's face turned pale. "It's him," she said. "My brother, the betrayer." The figure landed softly, his cloak flowing like smoke. "Saraxa," he said, his voice cold and deep. Still hiding among the dirt and stone, Eli stepped in front of her. "You're not welcome here," the alien smiled. "You must be the miner," he said. "The one who opened the door." He raised his hand, and the ground cracked beneath Eli's feet. But Saraxa threw up a shield of gold just in time. "You cannot have this world," she said. The figure's eyes narrowed. "Then it will burn." The sky darkened again, and lightning struck the edges of the shield. The ship trembled, its energy nearly gone. Saraxa turned to Eli, her voice soft. "There is one final way," she said, "but it will cost everything." Eli grabbed her hand. "No, we'll find another way." "There is no time," she whispered. She placed the golden crystal in his hand. "This holds the last of our memory. Protect it." She stepped forward, light pouring from her skin, her voice rising like a song. The alien figure tried to strike, but the golden light exploded from her body. A wave of pure energy swept across the valley, tearing through the machines and lifting the figure into the sky. The ship above shattered into dust, and the light faded. When the dust cleared, Saraxa was gone. Only the golden crystal in Eli's hands remained, glowing faintly. The war was over for now. The sun returned over the mountains, rising through broken clouds and silent smoke. The land below was quiet, too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. Eli stood alone in the valley where the alien ship had fallen. The ground was scorched, machines torn apart, the shield dome gone. But the silence was not empty, was sacred. In his hands, he still held the golden crystal. It pulsed gently, warm like a heartbeat. She was gone, Saraxa, the alien queen who had fought to save a world that wasn't hers. She had given everything to protect Earth, and now her light lived inside the crystal. Miners and townsfolk began to appear at the edges of the cliffs. They stared at the damage, the strange metal remains, the twisted scars in the ground. Some crossed themselves, others whispered prayers. Jed Carver walked up beside Eli, his face tired but calm. "Is it over?" he asked. Eli nodded slowly. For now, word of what happened spread quietly across California. People told stories of fire in the sky, machines in the forest, and a woman made of light. But no newspapers printed the truth. The government came days later, found the wreckage, but nothing that made sense. The starship had collapsed into itself, just melted gold and stone. They asked Eli questions, many times. He said he was just a miner, nothing more, but deep down, he knew the truth would live only in him. The crystal Saraxa gave him never stopped glowing. He kept it hidden in a small wooden box, buried near his cabin. Sometimes he would sit beside it at night and feel her voice again. Soft, distant, but still there. "Eli, my memory is safe. And so is your world." He began writing everything down, not for money, not for fame, but for the future. He carved her story into stone, page by page, word by word. One day, someone would find it. and they would know what had happened here. Years passed, but the gold rush never found the truth hidden in the mountains. They dug and fought and dreamed of riches. But the deepest gold had already been claimed, not for wealth, but for hope. Eli never married, never left the land. He became part of the hills, the forest, the silence. Some called him mad. Others called him a prophet. He didn't care. He remembered what Saraxa told him. You are part of something greater now. You carry not just memory, but meaning. One night, as the stars burned bright above the valley, Eli stood on the cliff where they had fought side by side. He looked at the sky and spoke softly. If they ever come again, I'll be ready. Behind him, deep in the earth, the crystal shimmered. It had grown brighter, its light stronger. Inside it, Saraxa's voice echoed across time, watching, waiting, guiding. Then, far away beyond stars and silence, Beacon answered. Not a warning, not a threat, but a promise. The galaxy had seen what one human could do, and it would never forget.